On the Western Hotline is Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff for our weekly chat as the Sabres get back to business. And we look ahead to the Four Nations final. Lindy, good morning.
Morning, gentlemen. How are you?
We're good. How have you enjoyed this Four Nations tournament? Are you taking it in?
I have been taking it in. It's been great hockey. I've really enjoyed watching the games. I think the intensity in all the games has been tremendous.
You know, Lindy, you've spent time internationally on the bench for Team Canada, and I wonder if you can kind of take us inside what it's like when a group of players, all from the same country, wearing the flag, but they're so talented, in the Olympics and moments like that. How dialed in is everyone in moments like that?
Well, it really is incredible how dialed in they will get. You're taking all the best players that are used to playing all the top ice time and all the top positions, and power play guys become penalty killing guys, and it's not about the individual anymore. It's just about playing for your country. And for that moment in time, that couple weeks, you've got to give the players a lot of credit for buying in, especially as a coaching staff, into what you're trying to sell and the amount of work that's got to go into that short period of time to win a championship.
For a coaching staff putting something together like that for a tournament, what's the approach with the system? I mean, I'd imagine you're normally putting together your system as best you can, how your players fit it. What do you do when everybody is great?
I think that you have your basic package that how you're going to defend your zone. Almost every team is pretty well the same. But it's just understanding that for this period of time, we're going to do it this way, whether that's the John Cooper D zone or the Sullivan D zone for the U.S. team. How you're going to control the neutral zone, and then the best players in the world take over with the puck offensively in the offensive zone and make just world-class plays. So you put together a package of system things that is, for most players is pretty common to how you're playing during the year, and the players go out and play.
You won 2 gold medals as assistant coaches. I should know this. Assistant coaches get gold medals, no?
Really, no coach gets a medal.
Okay.
You're given a medal, by Canada is part of that. But no coaches in the Olympics get medals. And I guess
Gotcha.
I understand why, because there's so many different types of coaches. If you want to look at gymnasts with, the amount of coaches they have, and you have mental coaches and skill coaches. And so, it is something that a lot of people have asked me, and that is what it is. But it was a lot of fun being part of. I can tell you that.
Did it spark any memories watching Saturday, the U.S. and Canada? The game was, obviously from the opening face-off, the intensity was there. But what I remember, Lindy, from the gold medal game in 2010 is, it was a close game, obviously went to overtime, but on paper, it was still pretty clear. Like, Canada was a more talented team, but U.S., grinded their way to the overtime. Miller was amazing. Is it kind of more clear now that it's closer than ever, and Saturday maybe was kind of proof of that the two teams, talent-wise, looked pretty even, or close to it?
Yeah, I totally agree that I think we were the heavy favorite in 2010, and I think on paper it looked like our club should be the club that should win. But I think if you remember 2010, the regulation round, we lost to the U.S. In a crazy game. I don't know, it was 7-5 or 6-5 or whatever. It was a crazy score. We gave up a bunch of goals, and then the gold medal game went back to I think it was 2-0 for most of the game, or 2-1, and then U.S. tied it, I think 6-5. But I think right now what you've stated, I think it is. I think that there are some incredibly dynamic players for the U.S. team, and that playing field has really been leveled.
Crosby obviously scores the golden goal for that tournament, and maybe you would have a more positive memory of that than most fans here in Buffalo. But watching him in this tournament, like John Cooper says, he's like he walks on water in Canada at this point. Like his legacy is cemented, but I don't know, Lindy, how much appreciation do you have for what he even still is at this age, where he's still out there as one of Canada's best players, and he would have been obviously when you were on the bench too.
I marvel at what he can do. It just tells you what an incredible athlete and an incredible person he is. Being around him, there's just this calm air of confidence that, he's just going to go out and play and he's going to do great things. And I think all great players have some of that, where you don't see any hyperness, and they always find a way to make the incredible play. I mean, if you look at the other night, the game where he's setting up McKinnon, and he can find that next play, and he finds that play so easily. And then the great players always have the knack of finding a way to score the biggest goal or make the biggest play to win a championship. And I think Sid is that guy. His calm demeanor and calm personality, and then to play at the level he's playing at the age he's at, tells you what an athlete he is.
Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff. A little more on the Four Nations, and then to the Sabres business we got to get to as well. Lindy, how'd the Tkachuk brothers fights hit you? I'm recalling the word truculence along the way, like Brian Burke mentioned that at one point 10 years ago or whatever. It feels like the U.S. has a good degree of truculence, and the Tkachuks are front and center.
I totally agree with you. I think that it has really added to this tournament, the physical flair, the way that game started. It put a smile on my face, and it makes me kind of ponder what is Canada thinking at the start of this game that's going to start tomorrow night. What are their thoughts? What is in their mind as they drop the puck to start the second battle? And who's going to win the truculence battle tomorrow night?
You, of course, had a few players return from the tournament. Henry Jokiharju, Rasmus Dahlin, UPL as well. Any reviews from them on their experience?
We have not seen those. Those players don't report till tomorrow, so I have not seen those players. Would love to give you some thoughts, but they won't be in practice today, and haven't seen them yet. Okay.
Very good.
Their play, Dahlin, and even Jokiharju, I think when some fans saw Jokiharju's going to this tournament, and, he's going to be playing against the McDavids of the world and whatnot, and I don't know, like, the numbers kind of backed it up, Lindy, that he held his own, and maybe the whole Finnish blue line did, despite the fact that there weren't a lot of household names.
Yeah, I think that it's a great point. I think, when you get with a group of highly skilled countrymen and you're playing for your country, I think that level even gets raised one notch up. I think all are, obviously UPL didn't get any playing time, but when you look at Dolls and you look at the Yoki, I think they played incredibly well for that period of time.
And lastly, on the Four Nations, Lindy, Tage Thompson said yesterday that he would have liked to be there. He wants to be on the Olympic team next year. He's going to work to that. And he was a little controversial when the rosters came out. Like, really, Thompson's not on it? He was dealing with an injury around that time, too. So from your vantage point, having coached him this year, you see how intense that game on Saturday especially was. I don't know if Thompson was on the team or if he were to make the team next year, how do you think he would do in that environment? Maybe even having to play more, you mentioned it, like some of the top players sometimes have to kind of change their game a little.
Yeah, I think that he would definitely fit. I think really what hurt Tage was the fact that he got hurt and ended up being passed by. I think they had a tough decision to make with where he was at the time when that roster had to go in. But I think when you look at all these players, and I think what gives them, for me, it gives them a road to get in is he's gone from he can play in the middle, he can play in the wing. I think right now the success he's having playing on the wing and being able to score with the rate he's been able to score, I think gives him an advantage. But again, it's taking these players and he may not be a first power play guy. He might not be a second power play guy. But maybe he's one of those guys the U.S. would look at and go, okay, we're going to add some little more truculence here, and we got another guy that's 6'5", 6'6" that can go in and help us in the war.
Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff, Four Nations final is tomorrow. Lindy, back home, practice, and you guys start to report and gear up for Saturday's game with the Rangers for the stretch run here. On the injury front first, the break did well for the team, right? Everyone's rested up, and any sort of injuries where things have cleared up. Latest on Jordan Greenway, Matthias Samuelsson?
Yeah, Greenway, was skating with the team before the break. Continued that throughout. They had a great practice. He's cleared to go. So, when you look at Samuelsson, yesterday was his first day back. Had a good day. The break has allowed almost every player. Today, we'll have Melanstein report back into practice and see how he looks from his injury that had him out of the lineup at the end. So we're pretty well 100% go with almost every one of our players.
Greenway hasn't played since December 15th. Having him back, Lindy, really what have you been missing not having him in the lineup? Because he was, those first 20 games, I think to everyone's eyes, he was having a very strong start to the year.
Yeah, totally agree. He was having a great start, was skating well. He's our top penalty-killing forward. He's that guy that 5-on-5 defending is one of our top players. Greener's hockey IQ when it comes to defending is right up there with our top personnel. So you're looking at a guy that skates as well as he does, and is playing at 240 pounds or whatever his weight at. He's a big man that's hard to track when he's on the ice. So he's been missed. It's going to be great to get him back.
Lindy Ruff with us on the West Her Hotline. Were you tempted at all, by the way, we haven't had a game yet. It was just the one practice, but seeing him skating with Cousins yesterday, he had a ton of success with McLeod and Zucker, but do you feel like he can kind of maybe help out Cousins and Quinn in other ways to kind of, not go right back to that line that began the season so well?
Yeah, I think there's been some chemistry with certain personnel while he's been out. I think I look at what Peterka and Kulik and Thompson have done, and Thompson on the other side, and with Greenway, maybe with Cousins, we got a guy that Greenway can play a little bit of center, a guy that can take draws maybe on one side and Cousins take draws on the other side. I've watched some games from last year where Greenway and Cousins played together, so looking at maybe that's some chemistry that we can develop into, a pretty heavy line that can score some goals and be a good defending line for us.
Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff, as we get closer to the return of hockey. Also, Lindy, the deadline approaching. The name I'm seeing the most in trade rumors for the Sabres is Jason Zucker, and I wonder, about his role with this team this year. If you want to tell us a little bit about how important he's been for some of his teammates, just how well he's played. He came in on a one-year deal, and I feel like for a lot of Sabres fans, they've liked what they've seen. I'd imagine a lot of teams out there might like him as a trade piece.
Yeah, I think he's surprised a lot of people, and I think in a lot of ways the expectations I had, I think he's exceeded what I expected. He's been a great power play guy around the front of the net. You look at the number of goals he scored. He's been a good teammate, a good leader inside our dressing room. Just a good pro. Getting to know him, watching his practice habits and what he's done in the game. I think any player that's in that position that you've signed a deal and you're unrestricted, that name always ends up on the board.
When it comes to the veteran presence there, Lindy, this team, the Sabres, they've been the youngest team in hockey, or one of the youngest teams for several seasons, and eventually it feels like maybe that might be something that turns towards a more veteran-laden lineup, and maybe Zucker is an example of how that can work.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that you need those players. You need those veterans. Sometimes the confidence of older guys to get through tougher times is what you need in that room, because they've lived it, they've been there. he's been with enough teams. He's seen enough of the ups and downs, and like I said, he's been a great pro for us. So he's a guy that, that on the ice has done the job. Off the ice, he's been what I've described.
Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff. Lindy, thank you for the time this morning. Welcome back to work for the stretch run of the season, and enjoy tomorrow's Four Nations final.
As well, you guys enjoy that too, and look forward to getting this thing back up and running.
All right, Lindy Ruff on the Wester Hotline. Sabres and Rangers on Saturday is the first return to action. Tomorrow, the Four Nations final from Boston.